Hi, welcome to Chard Review. A class made up of the worst students in the school is given the difficult mission of eliminating their teacher, who is actually a powerful alien planning to destroy the planet. Today we will recap the story of the movie Assassination Classroom Part 1 and 2. When an extraterrestrial threat arrives on the planet, the Japanese army quickly prepares to neutralize it. However, upon entering the monster's hideout, the soldiers are taken by surprise. Suddenly, several tentacles emerged from the darkness and pull those men to their deaths in an attempt to defend themselves. The agents start shooting, but their firearms do not prevent them from being annihilated by the shadowy creature. Days later, the school vacation period comes to an end and the class is surprised to find out who their new teacher will be. This class gathers the lowest performing students of Kuna-Jigaku School and receives the news that they will have class with the alien that destroyed 70% of the moon. To make matters worse, the creature reveals that by March of next year it intends to do the same to Earth. At that moment, Karasuma, a member of the Japanese Ministry of Defense, explains the mission that those students will have to complete in the coming months. By the end of that school year, the teenagers must eliminate their teacher and save the planet. Only the great leaders of the world know about the alien threat, so Karasuma asks the teenagers to be discreet and not to spread any information about that mission, to avoid any kind of global panic. While opening his briefcase, the agent takes a knife and tries to stab the monster, but the creature proves to be extremely fast and manages to dodge all his blows. The octopus reveals that he made a deal with the government in which he stated that he didn't mind being eliminated as long as he could serve as a Class 3E teacher. Therefore, the mission to eliminate the alien has fallen into the hand of those students who are to use knives and rubber bullets specially developed by the Ministry of Defense. To eliminate him, Karasuma explains that those weapons are totally harmless to humans, yet have a lethal effect on the invader. To demonstrate that he is telling the truth, the octopus shoots one of its tentacles and causes despair in the youngsters who are terrified to see the thing moving on the ground. In a few seconds, the monster regenerates and demonstrates that in addition to super speed, it also possesses the ability to heal itself quickly. Before leaving, Karasuma reveals that the alien has made a deal with the government that prevents him from harming any of those young people, and says that the student who succeeds in that mission will receive a reward of 10 billion yen, an amount equivalent to more than $70 million. From that day on, Karasuma became the assistant professor to train the students in the art of annihilation. Irina Yelovich, a professional criminal, has also been hired as an employee of that school. When she is not teaching English to the students, she takes the opportunity to try her luck against the yellow octopus. However, even after dozens of attempts, she has not managed to cause even a scratch on him during the breaks. The high school teenagers practice new tactics on how to eliminate their teacher, and Nagisa is the strategist of the operation. The boy has spent the last few weeks analyzing the octopus color changes and suspects that these changes indicate its mood. His classmates don't usually pay much attention to what the young man has to say, and some of them convince him to try out a risky maneuver. During grammar class, Nagisa approaches the smiling octopus and hugs him. At that moment, another student activates the bomb that is hidden inside the boy's uniform and causes a big explosion. Luckily, Nagisa was still alive, but the students believed that the professor was destroyed since the bomb was filled with bullets that were made exclusively to eliminate him. The youngsters find a gooey membrane on the ground and discovered that the alien used that skin as a protective barrier to prevent his body from being hit by the bomb. Realizing that the monster is still alive, the youngsters are startled and suddenly the octopus' large head changes color. The creature is furious with Terasaka, Yoshida, and Muramatsu for putting Nagisa's life at risk, although he cannot hurt. Due to his deal with the government, the professor says that if the insane put the lives of his colleagues in danger one more time, their families will pay the price. The monster then asks everyone to sit down so that he can continue the lesson, and Kayano asks what her teacher's real name is. Upon hearing this, the alien reveals that he does not have a name, and the students decide that from that day forward they will call him Koro-sensei. The next morning, the students finally manage to capture their teacher. For the first time, they have used a trap to imprison Koro-sensei, who tries desperately to escape, but is unsuccessful. The students try to hit the rubber bullets at the alien, who manages to dodge the attacks even though he is trapped. When he finally manages to break free, the monster climbs on the roof and a new student arrives at the school. Because of his violent behavior, Karma was eventually suspended and was sent to Class 3E that afternoon. After class, the young man asks if his teacher would be able to risk his own life to save his students and jumps off a cliff with a gun in his hand. His goal is to shoot Kora Sensei as soon as he appears to rescue him. The creature uses its tentacles to form a net underneath the boy and prevent him from reaching the ground. After being saved, Karma leaves unsatisfied that he has failed to accomplish his goal. Even as the months go by, the students have no breakthrough in their mission, so the president of the Ministry of Defense sends a new student to try to eliminate the teacher. The creature is a robot equipped with artificial intelligence named Ritsu. On her first day of school, Ritsu attacks Koro Sensei with her arsenal of machine guns, but her mission is a real failure over time. The machine is able to evolve and learn what the teacher's greatest weaknesses are. If its evolution continues at this rate, Ritsu will have a 90% plus chance of being able to eliminate Kora Sensei before graduation. One day during class, the classroom is invaded by another young man. Then a man in a beekeeper's costume appears and introduces himself as Shiro. He has gone there to introduce Adina to his new classmates. The boy claims to be there to challenge Koro Sensei as he believes he is stronger than him. The duel begins and the rules defined. Whoever leaves the area delimited by the desk says the loser immediately reveals his abilities and demonstrates that he is as fast as his teacher. The boy uses the tentacles coming out of his head to attack Kora Sensei, provoking the octopus fury. The alien is looking menacing, but Etna does not back down and attacks him with all his might. He proves to be faster than Kora Sensei, who depletes all his energy by regenerating his body. Everyone believed that the alien would be destroyed in the next blow, however, he manages to shake off the attack by using a rubber. Life against Adina. Since the boy possesses powers similar to his own, Koro Sensei imagined that the weapons used to hurt him would do the same to his enemy. Luckily, the monster was right and the boy loses his tentacles. Now he needs to use his energy to regenerate, which causes his speed to decrease as well. Finally, the professor wraps Adina in his skin and throws the boy out the window. In this way, the octopus becomes the winner of the duel. Despite the attack, Adina remains unharmed as the teacher scale keeps him protected. Shiro then picks up the boy and takes him away with the promise that very soon he will be back. At the end of the class, Nagisa approaches Kora Sensei and asks why he has become a teacher for class 3I. In response, the alien says that he is doing this to fulfill a promise he made to someone, but refuses to reveal the identity of that person. The octopus states that in order to know the truth, the students will have to eliminate it, and Nagisa asks if there is anything they can do to accomplish this goal. Koro Sensei then proposes that the youngsters spend that weekend at school to study so they will have a better chance of eliminating. Since they will spend more time together on the following days, the teacher uses his hyperspeed to teach the students individually, helping them to review the subjects that each of them has the most difficulty with. The following week, the youngsters receive news that a new teacher will replace Karasuma as coach. Takoaka appears to be a kind man who goes out of his way to please his students with snacks and jokes, but this character does not fool his former army colleague. After gaining the trust and affection of the students, the coach demonstrates his true evil personality by aggressively punishing a girl who claims she can no longer stand to continue with the activity. Kanzaki was about to take another blow when Karasuma appears and holds the demented man's fist. Takoaka claims that his teaching method is better than his colleagues and proposes a challenge. Karasuma will have to choose one of his students to face him in a duel. If the young man manages to put the knife against Takoaka just once, the man will quit his position as trainer and publicly admit that Kurosami's teaching methods are better than his own. Karasuma accepts the challenge and chooses Nagisa as the challenger. The young man is frightened, but decides to face his current trainer to free his colleagues from his hands. Slowly, with a smile on his face, Nagisa approaches his target and knocks Takoaka down, placing the knife against his neck. The man is left without any reaction as he was prepared for a duel. But Nagisa knew that he didn't need to fight his teacher to defeat him. So he approached him calmly and managed to emerge as the winner. While Takaoka leaves in anger, Nagisa is exalted by his colleagues who celebrate his victory. It is a rainy day in Koro. Sensei is late for class when he arrives in class. Everyone realizes that there is something wrong with him because his head is completely swollen from absorbing too much water. Science class is about to begin. And Okuda asks her teacher to drink the poison that she has dedicated her body and soul to prepare. As he does so, Koro-sensei turns pale, and suddenly horns begin to grow on his head. Finally, his whole body turns white, as if frozen. However, he quickly returns to normal and praises Okuda for having made such a powerful poison based on sodium hydroxide, a substance fatal to humans but harmless. Him proud of his student, he decides to teach her how to make an even stronger poison. When he ingests it, his body becomes as thin as a blade and Koro-sensei uses this new form to escape while his students try to catch him. A few minutes later, he returns to normal, asks the youngsters to call teacher Tadaomi and teacher Irina and gather in the schoolyard. Suddenly, the teacher takes off like a rocket and soon returns to the school, destroying everything around him. At that moment, the students are amazed to realize that the monster had just held a bomb in midair. The alien then leads the students back to the classroom and informs them that for the upcoming exams, they will have to pool their knowledge and structure a perfect plan to eliminate him. To help them in this mission, Koro-sensei reveals that each time one of his tentacles is destroyed, its speed decreases, which increases the chances that his students will be able to eliminate it. The professor then says that the students who get the highest grade in each subject will get to cut off one of his tentacles at the end of the semester, and this motivates them to study harder and harder at the end of the class as the young people return to their homes. The teacher decides to give Nakamura, his best English student, a hands-on experience with the language and takes her to the United States. Then he takes Karma, the best math student, to calculate the height of the Chinese wall, and Kayano goes to Italy in order to find out the angle of inclination of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. In this way, all the students can have an academic experience outside of Japan and Koro-sensei can complete his graduation photo album. After the exam, Nakamura, Okuda and Karma scored the highest in English, science, and math, respectively. Therefore, each of the three will be able to pluck a tentacle from his teacher on the day of the final exam. The next day, the students prepare to execute the plan to eliminate Koro-sensei. They combine their skills and build all the necessary structure to succeed in their mission. Finally, the big day arrives, and after being strapped into a missile, the octopus is surrounded by a water barrier and is about to be hit by 2 rubber bullets when something unexpected happens. When the smoke clears, the students realize that Koro-sensei has turned into a sphere. And he explains that this is his ultimate form of defense. Its exterior is composed of high-density condensed energy, which makes it totally impenetrable. However, in the next 24 hours, that energy crystal will break down and Koro-sensei will become susceptible to attack again. At that moment, some students faint and Takaoka invades the school along with his gang. The man informs them that before he leaves he has put a virus in some students' drinks. He further says that once the virus is installed in their bodies, the young people will die within 3 days unless they. But the antidote that only he possesses along with him is also Edna, who plans to challenge Koro-sensei to another duel to prevent their teacher from being captured. Nagisa and Karma flee, and Edna goes after them. Just then, Takaoka leaves and takes the antidote with him. In an attempt to lose Edna, the two friends climb a tower with their teacher in their arms, but the boy catches up with them and tries at all costs to steal the orb. However, with teamwork, the pair manage to distract him until a storm approaches and the rain causes the boy to become weakened. Just as it does when Koro-sensei gets wet, Nagisa then hugs him and cuts off his tentacles. The octopus then states that if Edina is still interested, he is very welcome to become part of Class 3E. When the students return to school, they find Takaoka and his gang using Kayano as a hostage to force them to hand over the teacher. The man takes the bag from Nagisa's hands, believing that Koro-sensei is inside, but soon discovers that he has been tricked and is cornered by the students who trapped those demented people in the trap they themselves created thanks to Okuda. The teenagers who were infected by the virus managed to survive because the girl was able to create an antidote for her classmates. Koro-sensei then praises his students for their teamwork, at which point Ministry of Defense helicopters show up to take away the alien. All the students are sent to headquarters where they discover the plan made by the government to eliminate the octopus once and for all. Before leaving, Koro-sensei asks to give a final message to his students. The creature congratulates them for their performance and maturation throughout this journey and says that there is no greater happiness. And to see them grow. Finally, he thanks them all for the opportunity to have been his teacher. The sphere is inside a chamber and is quickly covered by rubber bullets. At this time, a countdown starts and is followed by a big explosion. The members of the government celebrate, believing that the Earth is saved, but the students begin to cry as they cannot accept the death of their teacher. Nagisa cannot hold back his tears and is surprised by a tentacle that hands him a tissue. Looking back, the young man can hardly believe that Koro-sensei is still alive and without a scratch, while the soldiers scream in despair. The alien is embraced by his students, who are relieved to see him. There are only 6 months until graduation, and if the students cannot eliminate the octopus by then, the entire planet will be destroyed. Next weekend, there will be a school festival in Karasuma. Believes that this will be the perfect opportunity for Class 3E to eliminate Koro-sensei, since he will be distracted. In addition, the Ministry of Defense has also hired a sniper to eliminate him. Minutes later, the teacher enters the room and says he is very excited for the festival. Koro-sensei decides to reveal his biggest weakness so that the students will have a better chance against him, and tells him that although he is fast, he doesn't have much strength. Therefore, if the teenagers hold its tentacles before attacking it, the octopus will not be able to get loose. But this will not be an easy task when the day of the school festival finally arrives. Koro-sensei wears a clown costume so that people will not discover his true identity, and Red-Eye follows the alien's every move through the bezel of his rifle. However, when the sniper decides to take the shot, the octopus manages to dodge it and disappears. Later, he performs in a play with his students, who take the opportunity to try to eliminate him. During the show, however, they do not succeed. Red-Eye is also there to eliminate the creature, but is surprised when he is brought on stage to participate in the play. At the end of the performance, Koro-sensei leaves, leaving his students disappointed. A few days later, when the festival comes to an end, the alien helps his students to put away the materials used in the presentation in. Kayano surprises him by showing that she also has tentacles. Coming out of the back of her neck, the girl then attacks her teacher and pours water on him to weaken him. She then uses her tentacles to strike him. However, during the attack, Kayano begins to feel severe pain and Koro-sensei approaches her to try to help her. At that moment, the girl reveals that she is Yukimura Aguri's younger sister and accuses her teacher of having caused her death. Now that everyone has discovered her true identity, Kayano decides to flee into the forest. Aguri was the former teacher of Class 3, and she disappeared without any explanation. Now that they know that Koro-sensei is involved in this disappearance, the students ask him to tell the truth about what happened. The octopus then promises that he will tell everything about his past. But before that, Kayano must be found. After all, she also deserves explanations while she is missing. The girl remembers the day her sister died. She went to the laboratory where Yuri worked to deliver some materials to her and found the young woman dead. Next to her was the octopus, which quickly left. After eliminating her, Kayano then ran to her sister's body and realized that there was nothing more that could be done. To her from that day on, the girl lived for revenge and used Aguri's research to transplant the tentacles behind her neck. However, since she received no medical attention whatsoever, Kayano lived with severe pain in exchange for having the power she needed for revenge. Before it left, the creature left a note for Aguri saying that she could meet him at Kunajigaku School as a Class 3E teacher. Weeks later, Kayano passed the entrance exams of that school and was able to begin her plan. The next morning, the young girl is found by her classmates, who managed to convince her to return to school. With everyone gathered in the classroom, Koro-sensei keeps to his schedule and begins to tell his story. He says that 2 years ago he was a criminal known as Shinigami, who became famous for being one of the best killers in history. Because of his gentle smile and polite words, no one could ever imagine that he eliminated people. However, one day after winning a fight, the man was captured and taken to a laboratory that was conducting illegal research without government oversight. His great intellect and physical strength caught the organization's attention and he became the subject of several experiments. Leading the research was a man named Yanagisawa who assigned a Guri to monitor all changes occurring in Shinigami's body. As time goes by, they strike up a friendship and a Guri tells her that she works in a school. The young woman says that she loves her students very much and has taken it upon herself to help them develop. Despite being the teacher of the worst class in her school day after day, the man continued to be used in countless experiments until his body began to change. Still, their friendship continued to grow and they eventually fell in love. In the meantime, Yanagisawa received news that a large part of the moon was destroyed when an experiment was performed with a mouse on its surface. The scientists transplanted into the rodents some cells they had taken from the Shinigami and this generated the explosion. By checking the cell division cycle of the guinea pig, they discovered that on March 13 of the following year, man would also explode, destroying the Earth. He ended. Gasaway then orders his team to get rid of the thing, as this would put an end to the cell cycle. Aguri hears the whole conversation and rushes to alert Shinigami, assuring him that she will find a way to save him. However, the boy claims that he deserves to die, since he has spent most of his life eliminating people. However, he could not die without first experiencing that new power, so he decides to flee the laboratory. Shinigami uses his tentacles to destroy the glass of his cage and prepares to leave. Aguri tries to stop him, but is unsuccessful. She runs to Yanagisawa and asks him to help the boy, but the demented man is furious and starts kicking her. The scientist activates his secret weapon of destruction. Eliminate the guinea pig, but Aguri sacrifices herself to save him. Before leaving, the young teacher asks Shinigami to teach her students and help them regain their self-confidence. After hearing this story, the students realized that their teacher is not an alien, but a human who has been transformed after suffering cruel experiments for more than a year. Furthermore, Kora Sensei has not destroyed the moon, let alone plans to destroy the Earth in March. However, this will happen as a result of the involuntary explosion of his body. Therefore, the octopus has decided to use every day of his remaining life to fulfill Aguri's last request and contribute to the development of the 3E class. The professor says that since he is going to die, he wants it to happen by the hands of his students who will perform this last act before graduation. Upon hearing this, Nagase is deeply saddened as he does not wish Kora Sensei's death, even more so now that he knows everything he has been through. The young man then manages to convince his colleagues to help him find a way to save his teacher's life, although he does not know if this is really possible. However, while looking for a way to help him, the students continue their mission as they wish to fulfill their duty to save the planet, either by eliminating or saving Koro Sensei. During her research, Ritsu manages to hack into the government database and discovers that the chance of the octopus exploding in March is only 1%. In addition, it is possible to create a substance to prolong the creature's life, but to do this it is necessary to have access to the data from the experiments to which Kora Sensei was subjected. This information is in the possession of Yanagisawa. He is currently missing, but luckily Eden knows where to find him, and guides two of his colleagues to the scientist's hiding place. The trio finds the file containing Kora Sensei's data, and Okuda uses this information to begin development of the drug that will prolong his life. Her classmates help her in this process, and together Class 3E, which was once considered the worst class in the school, manages to find a cure for their teacher. According to Okuda, all that remains now is to mix the substances together and let them rest overnight. In this way by morning, the medicine will be complete on that day when all the students go home. The government uses a satellite to activate a barrier whose function is to keep Kora Sensei trapped inside the school. The next morning, when the teenagers arrive at the high school, they are captured by agents and taken to a prison just as everyone is there. One of the heads of the operation informs them that a plan developed by major world leaders has just begun, and by midnight the creature will be eliminated by a satellite shot. Then Karasuma appears in Okuda, informs her trainer about the substance that the class was prepared to save Koro-sensei. However, the man reports that the government is not open to negotiating any method other than total elimination of the creature. Therefore, the students come up with a plan to escape from that place. They blow up the prison wall and pretend to have been shot. When the guards enter the cell to rescue them, the youths attack them and manage to escape. The group manages to go unnoticed by the security guards but is caught by Karasuma. However, instead of preventing the youngsters from escaping, the coach wishes them good luck and says he is proud of his students. Performance. The next step is to reach the school without being captured, and teacher Irina decides to help them by distracting the guards with her bazooka. Amidst all the chaos, the teenagers manage to escape and climb the mountain to reach the school, which is on the other side. Koro-sensei is sweeping the classroom when he is surprised by the arrival of his beloved students. Okuda then delivers to him the drug that will prolong his life and reduce the risk of explosion to almost zero. The octopus then thanks his students for their efforts to save him and drinks the liquid. However, he reveals that it is impossible to get out as the anti-teacher barrier envelopes the entire school, including the basement. Nevertheless, Koro-sensei is happy to be able to see his students once again and to hand each of them their graduation certificate at that instant. Unexpectedly, Yanagisawa appears to interrupt that beautiful farewell and informs them that the data of the students used to develop the drug was false. Therefore, Koro-sensei's chances of explosion are unchanged. As his greatest enemy approaches, the octopus sticks in front of his class and is willing to do whatever it takes to protect them. The Antigo Osawa then implants countless tentacles into his own body and transforms himself into a veritable monster with a single blow. The creature manages to cut off several of Koro-sensei's tentacles and rips off part of his head. He then throws him out of the classroom and humiliates the octopus in front of his students. Kayano can't stand by and watch her teacher get destroyed, so she decides to confront Yanagisawa and ends up getting hit by him. Upon seeing the injured young woman, Koro-sensei becomes angrier than ever, and his hatred makes him capable of producing an energy bomb that allows him to eliminate his enemy once and for all. He then uses all the strength he has left to heal Kayano's wound and prevent the girl from suffering the same fate as her sister. After completing his work, Koro-sensei says it is time for his students to finish the mission and eliminate their teacher. The octopus knows that he will inevitably be eliminated that night, so he prefers that it be at the hands of his students. Therefore, the youngsters decide to comply with Koro-sensei's request and hold his tentacles while Nagase pierces the creature's rest with a knife. Despite the tragic end, the professor claims to be happy and keeps a smile on his face as his yellow body disappears into dissipated energy. At that moment, the professor disappears from the government's radar and the soldiers become worried. Before leaving, Koro-sensei's spirit says goodbye to Irina and then pays a visit to Karasuma. Then they both understand what has happened. After graduation, Nagase goes to college and a few years later he is ready to enter the job market. The boy then returns to the same school where he studied, but this time is there as a teacher of the worst class in the school. Inspired by Koro-sensei, the boy decides to dedicate his life to helping those young delinquents find their way and restore their interest in studies. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe for more movie review. See you next time.